Aloha, and welcome to the Genie Show. My name is Genie Joseph, and I'm really glad you're here with us because I have a wonderful guest. I have Renee Tillotson, and she's the director of the Still and Moving Center in Honolulu. Aloha, Renee.
Aloha, Genie.
Good to have you here.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here.
So tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the Still and Moving Center.
The inspiration actually is twofold. It's my love for a movement practice called Nia.
Okay.
And it's also a wanting to share what I have gained from Nia in terms of a moving meditation. And that's why we have the name Still and Moving Center.
Okay. Well, let's let the audience know. Not everyone knows what Nia is, so it's a movement form that combines different types of practices. So explain the origins of Nia.
Okay. Nia originally came from the words non-impact aerobics.
Okay.
It has grown way past that.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, it did come from two aerobics teachers who decided that there had to be a more healthful way of moving. And they began by first doing some martial arts and finding out, oh, we can move our bodies in very healthful ways without our shoes on that we thought were protecting us. In fact, we have 7,000 nerve endings in each of our feet, and when we take our shoes off, we can have a much better sensation of what our body is doing. They added to martial arts some of the dance arts so that they got the fun of jazz, and they got some of the expressivity of modern dance and the playfulness, light-heartedness of Duncan dance. Then they also added some of the healing arts. The motto of Nia is through movement we find health.
Okay.
So Nia is a health practice, and Hatha yoga is one of the healing practices, Feldenkrais, and something called Alexander technique.
Okay, so in one class you can get a whole lot of healing and a whole lot of movement.
Yes, and you don't have to know any of those movement forms. We take something of the essence, the energy of those different movement practices, and then we fuse them together, and we put in a big helping of fun, of joy, and we come out with one movement practice. It's done barefoot to music.
Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be a Nia practitioner.
I was having a lot of trouble raising one of our kids. It was during teenage years, and my youngest said to me one day, "Mom, I think you should take an exercise class." I said, "Oh, that is a great idea." And I signed up for the YMCA the next day.
Okay.
And it was at a YMCA aerobics class that had a substitute teacher who taught Nia that I was introduced to Nia.
Wow.
I started after the first time of thinking, gosh, this is a little strange, and I like it. It gives me so much more chance of self-expression, and yet I still know what I'm doing. She's still giving me some choreography. And I just started following this teacher around and taking all of her classes until she one day, about a year later, said she was retiring. Oh. And I burst into tears. Oh, no. What do you mean? This is like really important to me. I find so much joy doing this. You can't quit, but she did. So I decided, well, I guess I better learn how to teach this.
Wow. Wow. Now, had you had a background in dance or other movement before?
You know, when I was a kid, I was a gymnast. And I really, after starting my family, had not done very much movement at all for a couple decades.
Wow.
And so when I started doing Nia, I was doing it as a pretty out-of-shape person who hadn't moved for a very long time. And there was something really that felt so good in my body to do these movement forms that are very well designed to move the body's way. There's nothing artificial about Nia movements. They feel good in my body when I move, doing the Nia moves.
And I know that you have, like, in class, you have different levels. So, like, if somebody is, in great condition and they really want that, sweaty workout, they can get it at what you call level 3, and someone else may be at a level 2, and another person like myself might be at a level 1. If I've got different injuries in my body, I can adapt it, and we can still be in the same class and following the same beat and sort of in sync with the class, but I can be listening to my body. Right, so that's really, I think that's rare. I think a lot of people go to classes or they don't go to classes because they think, oh, well, that's just for fit people. I can't do that. I mean, I would never go to a yoga class because I can't do those poses, right? But I feel in Nia that I can be true to my body through the movement and not feel like I'm holding the class back or that I'm, retarded or something, you know what I mean?
No, you'd make a great Nia poster child. Thank you.
I know. I'm like the perfect poster child. I can listen to my own body. This hurts, that hurts. I got to adapt this, adjust this, and I can still be having as much fun as anybody else in the class and get as much out of it.
Absolutely. And then once I did start to get into shape through Nia, and I healed a lot of issues that I was having, I could pump it up and really get a full sweat. Just, I'm drenched by the end of every class. And somebody else can be much more gentle as they're going through a Nia class. And it's the same class. So as you look out over a Nia class, everybody should be moving a little bit differently and maybe a lot differently with the same basic choreography.
That's exciting. That's exciting because I think it honors our uniqueness. It reminds us that we don't have to compare ourselves to that perfect body next to us. Do you know what I mean? And reminds us, okay, this is my body. This is what I have to work with, and this is where I need to move from. And I can't model someone else, who's perfect or whatever.
No, and it's your perfect body.
Exactly.
It really is. And we can feel better in our bodies, I've found, from doing Nia. I had a bad foot injury that had kept me in flats for about a decade. And I'm going to show you what I'm wearing today. Okay. Can you see these?
Wow, great shoes, great shoes. Yes.
I can wear those if I want to. I was able to reconstitute my foot through rolling through the ball of the foot and up high on the balls of my feet, and I was able to get the arch back in my foot.
Wonderful.
Other people have been able to lose a lot of weight through Nia. When I took my white belt training, I was training with someone who was near 300 pounds. Wow. And she had already lost 120 pounds doing Nia.
Wow. That's really exciting. That's really exciting. I know, like in the old days, they used to say with an injury, keep it still. But I think one of the ideas in Nia is learning how to move in a way that supports the healing and moving through the injury, and the idea that through movement you can have healing, which is a really important breakthrough concept. But you can only do that if you're listening to the body. You know what I mean? If you're moving without paying attention, of course you could be hurting yourself. But if you're paying attention, you can find ways that your body wants to move and that promotes healing.
Exactly. And that's what we say in Nia, is that you want to be moving your body's way. It may look different from the way somebody else is moving. That's fine. I say the only thing you could do wrong in Nia is to get hurt. It just means that if I get hurt, I'm not listening to my body the way that we're asked to tune in. Really be aware of body sensation. That's doing Nia. Excellent.
Well, I know that you have a poem that has inspired you to come up with the name of the center. I wonder if you would read just an excerpt of that T.S. Eliot poem for us.
Okay. Yes. Well, part of the philosophy of Nia is the idea of dancing through life. So this poem has something to do with the dance of life.
Okay.
And it comes from T.S. Eliot, from his 4 quartets, where he says, "At the still point of the turning world, there the dance is. Except for the point, the still point, there would be no dance. And there is only the dance.
Wonderful. Okay, so the dance being the metaphor for life. Yeah, wonderful.
So the idea is to always be holding our still center, even in the midst of great motion. So we practice that in class, and it's a tremendous metaphor to bring into the rest of life.
Great.